You locked the car. You know you locked it. You heard the beep, you walked away, and then you went back to check. And then you checked again, and maybe one more time after that. And part of you still wasn't sure. You are not losing your mind. You are not being ridiculous. Your brain is doing something very specific, and it deserves an explanation. It starts the moment you walk away. A question forms without permission. Did I actually lock it? Your rational mind says yes, you always lock it. You have never once forgotten to lock it in your entire life. And yet, something pulls you back. Not logic, something older than logic, something that lives underneath it. Some people check once, some check 3 times, some drive back from halfway down the road. And here is what is interesting. The people who check the most are not the most forgetful. They are often the most responsible. That detail matters, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why. But first, if you have ever driven back to check a locked car and found it locked every single time, subscribe to the Garage Therapist right now. This channel exists for the psychology behind exactly these moments, the ones everyone experiences but nobody explains. Here is what most people assume when they catch themselves checking, that something is wrong with them. They wonder if it's OCD, if they're anxious, if they're losing control, if it's getting worse. Those fears are understandable, but for most people, the answer is far less dramatic and far more interesting. What you are experiencing is not a malfunction. It is your brain doing its job badly, in the best possible way. Your brain is a prediction machine. Its entire job is to anticipate what could go wrong and prevent it before it happens. It runs threat simulations constantly, most of them below your conscious awareness. When you lock your car and walk away, it runs a simulation. What if the car is not locked? What happens then? And here's the problem. It ran that simulation on autopilot, which means it did not store the locking action in conscious memory. Your brain cannot find the memory of locking it, not because you didn't lock it, because you were not paying attention when you did. Psychologists call this an action memory failure, a completely normal glitch in how habits work. Here is how habit memory works. When an action becomes habitual, your brain stops recording it as an event. It stops treating it as something worth remembering because you always do it. It is routine. It is beneath notice. This is the same reason you cannot remember brushing your teeth this morning, or locking your front door, or turning off the stove. Your brain compressed those memories because it needed the storage space for things that were new or dangerous or emotionally significant. So when you walk away and ask yourself, did I lock it? You were searching for a file that was never properly saved. And your brain, being the threat prevention machine it is, treats that missing file as a red flag. No evidence of locking equals possible threat. Go back and verify now. And so you go back, you check. It is locked. Of course it is locked. It is always locked. But here's the problem with checking. Checking gives your brain relief for about 45 seconds. Then the doubt comes back. Because checking does not fix the underlying problem, it feeds it. Every time you check, you teach your brain that checking was necessary, that the threat was real, that it worked, and the brain files that away. Checking works. Do it again next time, and the time after that. This is why the checking often gets worse over time, not better. Each check makes the next check more likely. Now, here is where it gets genuinely fascinating, because not everyone does this equally. People with higher anxiety sensitivity check more not because they're weaker, because their nervous system is more finely tuned. Think about what anxiety sensitivity actually is. It's a nervous system that learned to take threats very seriously, often because at some point in life, not taking threats seriously had real consequences. The nervous system adapted. It said, we will not miss threats again, and it's kept that promise ever since. So when you check that car lock over and over, part of what you're experiencing is a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. It adapted to keep you safe. The cost is that it cannot always distinguish between real threats and imaginary ones, and a car that might be unlocked costs the same alarm as something that actually needs your attention. There's also a personality dimension here, and it's one most people find surprisingly validating. Research consistently shows that people who check locks more frequently score higher on conscientiousness, one of the most positive personality traits that exists. Conscientiousness means you care deeply about doing things correctly, about not letting things fall through the cracks, about being someone others can rely on. The lock checking is not a flaw. It's conscientiousness without an off switch. And when you understand that, something important shifts. The behavior stops being a source of shame and starts being a source of information. So what does this actually mean for you, for the person who has done this for years and wondered what it says about them? It says your brain takes protection seriously. It says you care about outcomes. It says you are someone who doesn't leave things to chance. And it also says you are carrying a nervous system that is working harder than it needs to, that deserves some compassion. Not self-criticism, not shame, compassion. The kind you would give to a friend who worked too hard for too long. Now, is there anything you can actually do about this? Yes, and it requires doing something counterintuitive. The solution is not to check more carefully. The solution is to make the locking action conscious in the first place. When you lock your car, say it out loud, even quietly. The car is locked. Your brain needs a conscious anchor. Or touch the handle deliberately after locking. A physical anchor, something your hands will remember even when your mind is elsewhere. The goal is to give your brain the file it was missing, so when it searches for evidence of locking, the evidence is actually there. Not by checking after the fact, by paying attention in the moment. That's the difference. And if the urge to check still comes, and it might for a while, acknowledge it, then choose not to go back. Every time you sit with the uncertainty and don't check, you teach your brain that the uncertainty is survivable. Here's what I want you to take from this. The car checking is not your enemy. It's a messenger. It's telling you that you care, that you have a nervous system that takes responsibility seriously, that you are someone who pays attention. Those are not small things. In a world where many people don't care, don't take responsibility, and don't pay attention, those are rare things. What you need is not to eliminate that quality. What you need is to give it better tools. Conscious locking, verbal anchors, physical touch, tolerating uncertainty deliberately. Small practices, real results. And if it's significantly affecting your daily life, please speak to a therapist. Some patterns need professional support. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. Now, I need to ask you something directly, and I mean this genuinely. If this video explains something about yourself that nobody has ever taken the time to explain before, subscribe to The Garage Therapist. Not because I asked you to, because this is the only channel doing this, taking the psychology behind car behavior seriously. Every week, we go deeper into the psychology behind what drivers feel, do, and experience that nobody gives them the language for. And drop a comment below right now. How many times do you check? Once? 3 times? Have you ever driven back? Tell me, you will not be the only one. The car is locked. You know it is locked. You have always locked it. Your brain just needed a moment to catch up with what your hands already knew. That is not a flaw. That is a very human mind doing a very human thing. Drive safe.